A federal judge is holding a hearing in Manhattan this afternoon on whether to allow the Trump Justice Department to drop corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The hearing began with the judge questioning Adams himself. Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove says the charges, quote, restricted Mayor Adams' ability to devote full attention and resources to illegal immigration and violent crime. The mayor pleaded not guilty to charges of fraud and bribery in September and has denied any kind of quid pro quo deal with the DOJ. CBS News Justice Department reporter Jake Rosen is in our Washington bureau. So, Jake, explain how the judge can rule in this case.
Hey, Lindsay. Well, the reason that the judge wanted to have this case and hearing in the first place is because late Friday, after the Department of Justice officially submitted this motion, the judge felt it was necessary to hear from both sides, both the Department of Justice leadership, who's going to be there, Emil Bove, as well as the federal DOJ employees who signed on to this motion, in addition to Adams' attorneys, to ask them questions about this alleged quid pro quo, see what they knew when, and to hear from both sides as to why these charges should be dropped, and really, I think, grill them on a lot of the facts of the case, which is, as you just pointed out, they pointed to Adams' ability to help them with immigration processes in the city of New York. They pointed to Adams' security clearance getting revoked, et cetera. However, this really breaks years of precedent across dozens and dozens of corruption-style cases that have not been dropped in exchange for these kinds of favors.
Jake, for someone who might not have been following this case really closely, remind us how we got here. And if the federal charges are dropped, what's next for Adams? Is he in the clear?
So going back to the beginning of this Trump administration, there were discussions that CBS News reported on a couple of weeks ago that Department of Justice leadership, which was just interim leaders at the time, were having high-level discussions with Adams' attorneys as to what the future of his prosecution and case looked like. Obviously, this was going on at the same time that the Department of Justice was focusing on immigration. Department of Homeland Security was refocusing and doing these big immigration raids all across the country, in addition to in New York City. As we got closer to where we are now, there was an official memo sent last week from the Department of Justice to the Southern District of New York telling them to drop these cases, these charges against Mayor Adams. And there were 7 resignations because of this move, which again breaks precedent, and a lot of career prosecutors at the Department of Justice felt they could not go along with this kind of arrangement. And the Department of Justice did find prosecutors to sign on to this, and they made this motion officially on Friday.
What could this really mean, if anything, for other perceived quid pro quo cases nationwide?
Well, really, and even going back to your last question, there's this temporary agreement to drop the charges until after November's mayoral election. I think this is really at the crux of the discussion in court today, is that they're kind of leveraging these corruption charges at Mayor Adams over to potentially coerce his cooperation, allowing ICE and Department of Homeland Security into the city to have Mayor Adams' cooperation on things like immigration. If they can do that and this judge agrees with the Department of Justice today, then that can be applied to anyone going across the entire legal system of, can you, in order to get your charges dropped or maybe some leniency, cooperate with the Trump administration, whether it's just on something like immigration or something potentially even more important, something like national security or anything along those lines. So really just a precedent-breaking agreement that the Department of Justice came to with Adams' attorneys that now a judge will oversee, and we're really in uncharted waters, so we'll see what happens over the next hour or two.
Jake Rosen, thank you.